flag, selling food, selling T-shirts. This is very much their territory, the kind of mini republic of protest in the heart of Istanbul. They are waiting for Mr. Erdogan, the Prime Minister, to return home. He's due home pretty soon. Some of his supporters have gone to Istanbul airport to welcome him. But earlier in the day, when he made those comments in Tunis, there was, I think, consternation among the protesters here that what they had hoped for was an olive branch from their Prime Minister, and actually what they got was an extremely hard-line, resolute position, pretty much the same kind of line as he had given before he left for North Africa 4 days ago.
Mark, why do you think he's not making those concessions? It would seem a very simple thing to just row back on this development. Why is it so important?
He's somebody who is very much in charge of the government. He is in command of his position. He is somebody who has really kind of taken on more and more responsibility in the last 10 years that he's been in power here. People say that he is very authoritarian in power in his role as Prime Minister, and I think that few expected him to row back on his promises. He's somebody who sticks to his guns, whatever happens. The Deputy Prime Minister and the President have sounded far more conciliatory in the last couple of days. They have said that they were willing to listen to the protesters' demands. The Deputy Prime Minister met some of the protesters yesterday who laid out their demands. But the Prime Minister, Mr. Erdogan, has very, very much kind of dug his heels in and stuck to what he says is the right position. He is also appealing to his support base, who are the kind of religious, conservative part of Turkish society, who he believes are backing him on this, and he believes that he can sort of see down these protesters. At the moment, though, there's very little sign of that happening. The protests continue, the park remains occupied. People here said this has become far more important, far more profound than simply an environmentalist protest. It goes to the heart of Turkey's values of democracy and secularism that they want protected, and they feel the Prime Minister is impinging upon. So at the moment, really, this kind of stalemate, this standoff is continuing, and Turkey's worst social unrest for many decades shows no sign of abating.
Okay, Mark, that's great. Thank you, Mark Lowen in Istanbul's Taksim Square there. And you remember you can get regular updates on that story from Mark if you're on Twitter. Just follow @Mark Lowen. BBC's Middle East editor Jeremy Bowen is also in Istanbul, and he's also on Twitter. He's at BBC. He's at Bowen BBC. That's at Bowen BBC. Now, before the conflict in Syria began over 2 years ago, the town of Qusair on the Lebanese border was home to around 30,000 people. Now, that was before forces opposed to President Assad took control of the area, taking over homes as they did so. Many civilians fled, and now, a day after the government finally forced the rebels to flee, it's emerged that only about 500 of its original inhabitants are still there amid the ruins of the town. BBC's Lise Doucet was the first Western journalist to enter Qusair on Wednesday, and she's been back there again today.
Qusair is calmer today. There's less of the edginess and frenzied celebration that marked the immediate aftermath of battle. A day on, there's more traffic on the streets of a city that lies in ruins, but most vehicles are still carrying troops. The soldiers are finding weapons too. Qusair was under opposition control for the past year. These two soldiers show us makeshift artillery shells packed with explosives, crude but powerful weapons. This is the freedom they want, this man declares, referring to the rebels. They use these against the army and civilians. There aren't many civilians left in Qusair. We saw just a few returning to homes, flattened by nearly 2 years of fighting. But 90% of the population is said to have fled. The United Nations Children's Fund told me many went to more peaceful areas, but now they're beset by fighting. The battle for Qusair is over for now. The war in Syria isn't.
The BBC's Lise Doucet there. The Russian President Vladimir Putin and his wife of 30 years, Lyudmila, have said they're separating. The couple went out for the evening to watch a ballet, Esmeralda if you're interested, and then they made the shock announcement on state television.